Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to Sundays Outside, a celebration of Black folks. Yes, my name is Merri Osborne, and I use she, her pronouns. And I'm very excited to be here today with you for another segment of Sundays Outside. Besides being someone who likes to get outdoors as much as possible, if it's out to a park or even a walk in my neighborhood, I'm also an actress, a writer, and the executive producer of the Mahogany Project. So check us out at www.mahoganyproject.org. Now, before we continue, I would like to recognize that I and many of the folks today are coming to you from the land of the Coast Salish, specifically the Duwamish, whose people, past and present, are still here, and we honor with gratitude the land and the people. Thank you so much. Now, today we are going to be celebrating Black activism in this monthly virtual series, highlighting state parks, community, and the awesome things that Black folks are doing all over Washington state. And yes, Sundays outside is like Sunday, like ice cream. So I'm wondering what flavors you have been enjoying. Drop something in the comments section, what your favorite ice cream flavor is, or what you're having today. Today, I'm having a little bit of a chocolate chip with a peanut butter swirl with almond milk. Okay, I'm trying to avoid the cow milk. So do the almond, do the hazelnut, you know. So Sundays Outside is a partnership between Washington State Parks and also Traditional Arts Program and the Golden Bricks events, with additional support from our sponsors, Washington State Parks Foundation, the Wilderness Society, Washington Trails Association, the National Endowment for the Arts, the National Parks Conservation Association, REI, the Trust for Public Lands, and Friends of Seattle Waterfront. Thank you, thank you, thank you to all of our sponsors and all of the partners that make Sundays Outside and all the programming with Golden Bricks possible. So go ahead, like and subscribe here to YouTube. Again, my name is Merri, and as the MC for today, I want to give a special shout out to all the folks that went to the Refuge Outdoor Festival Camp this weekend. Anyone out there who went, maybe you're tuning in. I'm just wondering how it was. I bet it was great. For those of you who don't know, Refuge Outdoor is a camping experience geared toward Black, Indigenous, and people of color. It's centered on building community through outdoor recreation, conversations, music, art. I mean, it's really amazing. I had the pleasure of attending the Refuge Outdoor Festival in 2019. It was beyond wonderful to be together with all these folks of color out in the woods, in the parks, and connecting, camping, and just having fun. And two of my favorite events that year were doing the bike ride. We went biking and bird watching. And I've never done any official bird watching before. So we had the Audubon, a guide from the Audubon Society there with us, as well as the bikes, I think through Bike Works. It was really fun, very cool. And also the second thing I really enjoyed was the silent disco dancing. Have you ever done that? Okay, if you haven't, then don't worry, because there's time to do the next Outdoor Refuge Festival coming up the weekend of September 17th through the 19th. So you can learn more about Outdoor Refuge and the festival at outdoorrefugefestival.com. So join us in September. Now, as we celebrate activism today, I just want to acknowledge that activism looks very different for each of us, right? Maybe you write letters to people who make decisions on something that you're passionate about, or you join organizations to advocate for things that are close to your heart. When it comes to nature and the outdoors, well, all those things work. And there's lots of other ways you might do activism. Me, I like to volunteer with my husband with the National Parks Conservation Association, going to Mount Rainier to clean the beaches. Excuse me, Mount Rainier, there are no beaches there. Going to Olympic National Park to clean the beaches, or maybe planting new plants at Mount Rainier, or working on the trails at the North Cascades National Park. So whatever you do, activism is a wonderful thing, especially as we work to conserve and protect our parks moving on into the future. So let's get going, because we have an awesome show today. Today we are highlighting Miller Peninsula State Park. Now, Miller Peninsula State Park is one of the newest Washington state parks. And I know you're probably wondering what activism has to do with this park. Well, we believe that activism starts with just one action. And you can use your voice today and any day to make an impact at this park and others by participating in focus groups, taking surveys, and attending meetings. And we'll tell you more about that later. So today, we are going to start out the show with Dr. Roberta and James Wilburn in Spokane. And we're going to watch a video and learn more about the work they do. And let's enjoy it.
I am African, not because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in me. I am African, not because my skin is black, but because my mind is empowered by Africa. I am African, not because I live in Africa, but because my soul is at home in Africa. When Africa weeps for her children, my cheeks are stained with her tears. And when Africa honors her elders, my head is bowed in respect, and my soul is filled with pride. When Africa mourns for her losses from the Middle Passage, genocide, and disease, my hands are joined in prayer, and my heart is filled with sorrow. When Africa celebrates her achievements, my feet are alive with dancing, and my whole being rejoices. I am African. For her majestic mountains and her beautiful seashores are etched in my mind. And I see the artistic handiwork of my heavenly Father throughout the land. I am African, for I am one with her people because they embrace me as their own. I am African because the music of African tribal drums fills the air. My whole being is in tune with the rhythm of the universe. My feet walk in its pathways, and I become the footprints of history. because Africa is the cradle of civilization. And it is from her shores that I draw strength and wisdom. I am African because she has given me the lineage of great kings and queens. I am African because I am proud of my African heritage and my African ancestry. I am African, not because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in me. Hi, I'm Dr. Roberta Wilburn and co-founder of Wilburn and Associates.
And I'm James Wilburn, commissioner. So I provide civilian oversight over Spokane's police department. To begin with, I was born in a place called the Black Cat Hotel. It was owned by my father. And during that time, in the 50s, African Americans could not stay in other people's hotels. You know, it was segregation. I come from Arkansas, so the segregated South. And my father owned this Black Cat Hotel where I was born. And so the musicians that traveled up and down the Chitlin circuit would stop off there and spend the night, get a meal, and then move on up or down the Mississippi, you know. And they would also play. The band would play for their food and a night's stay. And I was fascinated by the drum, and as a little bitty one, I was playing with a hammer while the music was playing, and I was fixed on the drum. And so when they took a break, me and my hammer took a visit over to the drum, and we bust a big hole in So my nickname all the way, even now, some people who know me call me Hammer.
Hammer.
You know, because I took that hammer and bust that drum. That was the beginning. I became a professor at Lemoyne College in Memphis, and I taught African drumming to both college students and high school students. And we took some of the students in my class to Senegal, West Africa, where we played drums there, you know, and we recorded CDs over there, you know. I traveled to Africa in the 80s, to Zaire, and was listening to the drummers as they welcomed the mayors in, you know, and so I picked up on the rhythms and the beats and and that kind of thing. You know, I would take a drum with me as I traveled, and as I go out into the villages and to play, they would just start coming from, and bring their drums and sit, and we would just have I was like a kid in a candy store. So that's how I got into the djembe and the talking drums and that kind of thing, I started the African drumming class at Spokane Falls Community College. I was a multicultural supervisor of student support services.
When we heard about the apprenticeship program, originally we were excited about it because I said, someone actually in the community said, hey, James would be perfect for this apprenticeship program because he's been known for playing his drums throughout the community. And so we were looking for an apprentice, and in looking, we kind of looked around, but then when we looked at the application, it said it could be a family member. And so then I kind of got excited about it because, I would see the drums where he would be playing in the basement, and I would go by and I would tap, tap, and that would be the extent of it. And so then I said, well, how about if I be your apprentice? And so that's how I kind of got into trying to learn how to play the djembe.
Well, when you use the language outside, that takes me back to my childhood, because the one thing Mom and them would say is, why don't you all go outside and play? You know, that's when we're keeping up too much ruckus in the house, you know, so we would go outside. And we would be out there all day until, you know, almost dark, until she called us in.
So, you know, he grew up in the South. I grew up in the North. Okay, so I am a native New Yorker. And I think, when I think of outdoors, I think of when I was in junior high school. I was also a Girl Scout. So we did camping and, you know, we did some camping and those kinds of things, and that was fine. But I actually won an opportunity to go to a nature study camp. And that was my first time being away from my family for, you know, a whole month. And at first I was really homesick and I really wanted to go back because it was foreign. Because think about black city kids. That was not an experience for us. And so that was part of this opportunity for us. But during that time, I actually learned to love being outside and exploring nature. And so I ended up coming back and being a camp counselor. So I just want to share a little bit with you about the history of traditional African music. And this is something from Charles Osavisi. In traditional African culture, every aspect of life has specific music to accompany the telling of a story. That is why learning traditional African music is simultaneously learning and embracing all aspects of a given culture. Traditional drumming is a powerful tool for helping participants communicate, tell stories, and learn about traditional daily life in Africa before the influence of colonization. Before the telephone was invented, African people used drums to communicate, tell stories, and express their emotions and feelings. The griot, or the storyteller, sends the royal court's messages to the population. Originally, traditional instruments were used to send a message to relatives and friends, whereas nowadays people use modern technology such as cell phones, email, and mail delivered to communicate. African people believe rhythm is natural in their bodies. Rhythm is a primal form of communication and are very rooted in them. Traditional African music is what binds the community together. Traditional music is an essential component of African dance. The energy of the drum forms an important triad of music, dance, and song that is very important in African tradition. There is a certain heartbeat that you feel when you connect with the rhythm of the drum. When our hands connect with a drum that vibrates with our energy, vitality, emotions, exhilaration, hope, sensitivity, giving, sharing, and unity, we become whole again. And that is Merri Beatman.
In Africa, the drum was used to announce weddings and other celebrations. The djembe was invented by the Mandinka tribe in Mali, West Africa. And the translation of it, the djembe drum, in the Bambara language, is the DJE J, which translates to the verb gather. and the Be, B-E, translates to as peace. So you would have the djembe to come to call the people together in peace. You know, it'd be weddings and celebrations and the announcement of Asantehinas, the chiefs of the tribe, and you know, different celebrations. And that's, the djembe would do that. So she and I I'm gonna join in with her with what she's playing there now. Now the talking drum, as I stated earlier, the djembe was created in Mali. The talking drum is the oldest instrument. This instrument here, which is called a talking drum, was used in West Africa by West African griots as well. Talking drum could reach up to 4 to 5 miles. And so they would use it to communicate from village to village. So not only could they communicate within, but now the drum also had another purpose, and that was to announce when there was danger, you know, or wars and that type of thing. So the drum could really be used to communicate. That was a good time to stop, huh? Yeah.
All right. Wow. That was amazing. Thank you, Dr. Roberta and James Wilburn from Spokane, Washington, for all the work you do and the way you show up in community. I mean, first of all, that poem, from the first line when Dr. Roberta Wilburn says, I am African, not because I was born in Africa, but because Africa was born in me. Well, as soon as I heard that, I was just like, okay, here we go. It's on now. And I knew we were going to go on a journey, and we did. I loved hearing about where they were born, how they were raised, what the outdoors meant to them as youth, as children, one from the South, one from the North, the different experiences, how drumming, how they come together through drumming, and how James just does such amazing work with drumming, and how they as a couple were able to kind of get an apprenticeship. Dr. Roberta Wilburn having that apprenticeship to be with her husband, to play and learn drums, and the way they combine the art and their heart together. So thank you so much. You can check out more about the Wilburns and the dedication that they have to making a positive difference in the world. And, you know, speaking of activism, we talked about how it shows up in different ways. We saw some of the activism they do, learn more about them at their website. I now want to welcome 3 folks who are also doing some amazing work in the world. And let's bring them on. I want to welcome Sophia Danenberg, Lael Johnson, and James King Jr. Welcome, 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 everybody. Hey. Why don't we go ahead and just get started where you can introduce yourselves, and we'll go, since we're on Zoom and everybody knows how Zoom is, it's great and it gets a little crazy. Why don't we just start with Sophia, go to Lael, and then James, if you can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do and your passions.
Hi, I am Sophia Danenberg, and I am coming to you from beautiful Kama Beach State Park. I should note that it is a very active park, so people might come by, they're checking in for camping, they're getting to the cabins, and so if you hear a little kid running in the background, that could happen. I am a Washington State Parks and Recreation Commissioner, which is why I'm in a state park. I have a passion for public lands and the environment. I am a mountain climber, a rock climber, ice climber, and bearing the lead, I guess most people know me as the first African-American to summit Mount Everest and the first Black woman to summit Mount Everest.
Awesome.
All right, all right. Thank you, Sophia. Woo! Okay, I want to hear more about mountain climbing later. Go ahead, Lael.
Hi, my name is Lael Johnson. I'm the owner of Fly Guide, and I'm a fly fishing guide in Washington State and Alaska. I've been doing this for going on 9 years now, and just really trying to do my part to help others enjoy Washington. This is an amazing place, and also trying to make it a more inclusive sport for people that are in events like we're having today. So I'm just trying to do my best to do that and speak to others about how important the outdoors is to have in your life.
Thank you. And James, bring us home.
James Owen King Jr. from Atlanta, Georgia, home of the Muscogean Creek. Currently live here in the land of the Duwamish, Seattle. Go by he, him, his pronouns. I love the outdoors, and I love to be able to engage people in the outdoors. I tell people I work with K through Gray, and yes, awesome. Yeah, K2 grade communities, and also social responsibility with corporations, all surrounding the environment. So if it's talking about creating projects to get people outdoors, or talking about getting people in the career space and outdoors, facilitating conversations with leadership, that's where you find me. That's the realm. But in the outdoors, I mean, I love being out on rivers. I love fishing. I love exploring. We had earlier conversations, and you know, I'm getting into snowboarding, but I just love venturing and seeing the world in these various different outdoor spaces. So yeah.
Well, you know, James, we'll start with you, and then we'll go back to Lael and land on Sophia. What got you interested or into the outdoors, and and what keeps drawing you back? You mentioned being at Atlanta. I don't know if that's where you were born and raised, but what got you into the outdoors?
Yeah, Atlanta, I'm born and raised. When you think of, or some people don't think, Atlanta is, or once was, the most forested city in big metropolitan cities. And so I always had trees, the creeks, played with the frogs. And then being a Georgia boy, my grandparents lived in the country, so I always had to go down to the country in the summers and winters with them, and I'll be out in the fields and just playing and staying in yelling distance. So that's how, you know, I was always engaged. And then even when my parents moved us out of the city and we went to the suburbs, like me and my friends are around, we used to go on like the farms that are around and hang out in the haystacks and just chill, listen to music and everything else. So nature has always been around me. My family embedded into me, but it wasn't always in the outdoor recreation sense that we think about now. So, shout out to, Wally and Lady Mae Hollis for, my grandparents for just getting me out and about and showing me how to protect nature and be around nature.
I love that. Protect nature. And I like what you said. It sounds like a song. I don't know, hanging in the haystacks. I don't know, listening to music. That sounds so cool. I'm an urban kid, so I just can imagine that. Well, what about you, Lael? How did you get into the outdoors and what keeps bringing you back?
I am from Kansas and was born and raised, fishing for catfish, crappie, and bass. But my parents have been fishing for forever, and I just was kind of brought up into that kind of recreational weekend outdoor space with family, right? And it just grew into probably like 5 or 6 years old. I was like, I want to be a fishing guide. Like some people want to be a policeman or a fireman, or this is just something I always wanted to do. I had the opportunity to come out to Seattle. I was a surgical technologist and I had a contract at the Children's Hospital. And this was my second travel contract. And I came to Washington and I was like, I'm not going anywhere else. This is where I'm supposed to be. I jumped into guiding. This is years after, and just absolutely just loved it. All the people that I meet from all around the world, and just sharing what I've always had a passion for and what I keep chasing. From doing this, from what I wanted to do my whole life. And then it turned into, like, as I'm, doing this event with you, is I would really like for someone like myself to inspire another possible me or another person that's already in the industry to know that they actually have a chance, and just go straight for it. I didn't have that. I just had the drive to make it to where I'm at, but I would have loved to have a role model. I did not at the time. But I believe that, if there's a space that hasn't been filled, it doesn't mean that it can't be. So that is what that's my next goal, is to just try to help the next generation, or just some child somewhere that's either 3, 4 years old to 15 to 18 is like, I can do this. There's a guy that's doing this, is like, I want to go chase this dream. This is what I want to do. So.
No, I love what you said. It's crazy. Sometimes you keep reading about the first, this, like you just said, Sophia, the first thing is like, it's 2021. Are we still just having first? Why are we having this is a normal thing? And then, like you said, like, there may be people out there that we haven't heard of, that the hidden figures, type. And so but right now, I'm just so glad that we have you and everyone on the show, because for a lot of us, you will be our first. You'll be the first people that we know that are doing these things. And so thank you. And Sophia, can you tell us a little bit about, what brings you back to the outdoors and what got you into the outdoors?
Sure. Well, I was always like that kid. I was always that kid who was running around and trying new things. But I describe my family as indoorsy. I'm half Japanese. I was actually born in Japan. And I spent the first years of my life on a sugarcane farm without indoor plumbing, very rural. And my father grew up in Allendale, South Carolina, that area, picked cotton to help out his grandparents. And, when his sort of mother went north during the Great Migration. And so I think my family just didn't think of outdoors as a place is like they recreate. I feel like there was like something where they were outside all the time, but there was sort of a disconnect. But of course, I was a child. I remember playing and running around in the sugarcane fields while I was waiting, for my family who were working in them. And then when my father eventually became a doctor, we moved to Cincinnati, and same thing. There was this big woods behind our townhouses, and so I would spend my free time. Single dad at that point was raising us, running through the woods, climbing the trees, building forts. And so I think it all came naturally to me. The first like real time I ever did anything like backpacking, hiking, camping, anything that people think of as sort of traditional like outdoor recreation, I signed up for it myself. I always tell people like you hear these like inspirational stories about, I was like, how, so something happened, like, and I was like, yeah, there was nothing, like I didn't really have these moments, like these big pivotal moments. Um, but instead it was like a bunch of little things, right? A little tiny things, small steps. And in the end, I got myself there. And as much as everyone loves the big stories, like everyone loves to be like, oh, so and so grab them out of the inner city and put them in the thing. There's a limit. Like there's a limit to like how many people like you can just change their life, right? To me, like setting up systems and making it so that people get there themselves the way I did, they don't have barriers. I think I got very lucky in that I was kind of accepted. Like I ran into friendly communities. Anywhere along the way, I could have gotten into some situation where I was like, oh, this is not safe, this isn't fun. But I think I got really lucky with having welcoming communities. And then it was just creep. Like once I started hiking, it was like, then I started rock climbing and then ice climbing. And my best friend from high school wanted to climb Mount Rainier. And we were living in the East Coast at the time. I had no idea what Mount Rainier was, even though I can like see it out my window where I live now. And yeah, I just was like, yeah, sure, let's do that. Let's climb Mount Rainier. Like, let's look what Mount Rainier is. And the two of us came out there and did that. And then I was obsessed. Like once I found mountaineering, it was like every vacation, every weekend, every opportunity I had. Like I was obsessed. And I still am, but I still think I'm actually like people think of me, I think, they think of me as a mountaineer. It's like it's a thing, right? But I try to do all the things. Like I love mountain biking. I love being a terrible kayaker. Like I am the worst snowboarder and I still do it. I ski. I have a thing where I want to catch a fish. And people are like, you've never been fishing? I'm like, no, I've been fishing. I want to catch a fish though. Like I've never actually caught a fish. Like that's my thing. So I just want to keep trying all this stuff. All the stuff I'm terrible at. I just have fun doing it and trying everything and being outside.
Well, yeah, I love that. I wanted to see there's a connection with a lot of you about this idea of nature or was around you, but, knowing that you could actually do things, it was a journey, right? You sign up for something. James, it was always there. Lael, it sounds like, your parents got you going into this, the fishing thing was very specific for you at a very young age. I'm wondering what we can do and what the community can do and what our legislatures can do to make parks more accessible. And accessible can look like a lot of things, just like activism. But what are some ways that you think accessibility in the parks looks like to you? You mentioned, Sophia, transportation, just getting there. But what are some other ways? And maybe we'll start with Sophia, go to James, and end with Lael on this one. What does accessibility look like to you for the outdoors?
So I think there's just so many things. Like, everyone, I think a lot of people focus on, the financial issues, right? They look at, how much things cost. And there is that, of course. But we do find that like there's a lot around uh the culture, the gear, the cost of the gear, getting the gear, not just getting the gear, but like feeling like you have to be dressed a certain way, looking a certain way, being exactly some particular way in order to be outside. That in itself, I think, can be a barrier. And so I think that there's just something where, and I said this, like, I said this, and it's very kindergarten, but I was like, we are still at a point right now where I feel like the outdoor recreation community, so not like super, like the lands are, open. I was like, okay, not the lands, but like the actual community that are there just need to just be more open to everybody. I do think that there is, a little bit of a sort of, it's not even like an elitism, but there's sort of a gatekeeping, right? Like I was here and they were, you saw it during the pandemic when so many people went outside, and then you would see in the outdoor rec community that people were irritated. Like I've been going to this place for years and who are these new people? And I just think that needs to go. Like that just needs to go. Like people need to be welcome and opening to everybody, because, even if you're focusing on, Black and brown people, people with different abilities, people of different body types, the less you feel like you belong, the more likely that you're going to get like, you're going to, that's going to affect you, right? I feel like if you are sort of, young, white man, strong, built, like you're not going to, like somebody being rude to you, you're going to be like, what? Right? Versus if you look around and you're like, I don't think I belong here. And then someone's just elitist and rude, the way they are to everybody, by the way. I had these old guys in rock climbing. They're like, we don't discriminate against women. We're just mean to everybody. And I'm like, I know, except that there's no women here. And so when you're mean to that woman, that's gonna be different than when you're mean to somebody who looks around and sees a billion people that are just like them. And so to me, I think there's just something about the recreation community being more open, more friendly, less gatekeeping. It's just a first step. And then there's like a million other things.
That's a good first step. That's so true. What about you, James? What ideas do you have on that?
I mean, Sophia just brought it up, and I agree. Is being welcoming when we step in. So we talk about the gear, we talk about transportation, getting people there, and then once we get there, how does the park rangers treat you? How does the camp host treat you? How does people who recreate there? And as we see during the pandemic, once again, a lot of people been going and doing a lot of outdoor things. So you have those people who've been in those areas for the longest, who feel as though that it belongs to them, even though these are public spaces, and how they treat individuals as you go in. And then also, we talk about cultural acceptance. What does that mean? Like when we look at the browning of America, there's a lot of people that are going into these spaces, and how they recreate is different than the traditional sense. And so when you see people doing certain things, if they're praying, or if they have cultural traditions surrounding environment, like how do we accept that? How do we not treat it as though is something that is that we should belittle it, or make it into something negative? How do we take these spaces that's been here for the longest and tell them that they also need to educate themselves on the diversity, the group, the demographics of Washington, so they can be more welcoming when these individuals come in and when these children come in, so they can come back and they can go back and forth. They can come back again. So we all know that when you feel welcoming, you're going to go back. When the food is great, you're going to go back. When you have a great experience out of doors, you are willing to go back or share that experience. And we know when you have a bad experience, it's literally, you might see a bad review, you might see a bad rating, or people will just not show up, and they'll say why we won't show up, and they will call people out, and young kids will call people out too, especially based off of their experiences. So that's where I look at when I look at access. Is like, once we get there, then what? How are we welcoming these spaces? So yeah.
So true. Yeah, I love what you're saying about people are going to bring these different cultural thought, whatever, to their camping experience or their hiking experience, and then if you're stuck in this mold of this is the way we do it, then it is there for everybody, as you mentioned. So Lael, what about you? What does it mean to you?
My thought process on just kind of getting out there is been throughout my own journey, and I believe it should start with mindset. And I believe that it starts with the individual. The individual could be me going into a new place. The individual could be the person that's welcoming me, hopefully, into a new place. If I was waiting for acceptance, I wouldn't be here. I wasn't waiting for it. So I knew what I could control personally, and I was looking for confrontation because I just really didn't know, and I was willing to be surprised when I didn't get it, right? And that's what changed me, right? I always thought that, I'd go to these different places where I'm not only the only person of color around, I'm the only person around, right? And then the more that I went into these spaces, I'd still get looks. It's a little different, every now and then. But, after I had got comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? I was pleasantly surprised with the reactions that I've got. You know, there's different looks that you get. There might be different words that you may get, but I knew what I could control myself, and that's what let me get here. And that is usually what I'm 100% trying to tell other people is like, you can control your mindset, right? I wish that everybody would put a hand out there and make it easy for you, but that's not how I got here, right? You can change that on your own before you even step into that place. Get comfortable with something awkward happening. Just expect, if it doesn't happen, it's wonderful. Enjoy everything about the outdoors that will keep you coming back, right? And that is usually what I'm trying to tell people is just let's work on, it's a process. We're waiting for things to be more accepting. It does not happen in 5 minutes. We have to have a lot more people in these groups and these talks, but you can control, like, you're never going to change that that culture if you're not showing up in the first place. We have to show up, want it. I hope that, you know, throughout what we're doing right now, we can just make more people want it. And that's my goal. And I just want to help people be prepared for what they may see. And this is not from people. This is just in nature. I'm a guide, and I just want to be, you know, preparing other people for the situations they may be in.
Right. This own the space. You deserve to be there like anyone
Correct.
else. And
Correct. You do.
And yeah, like you said, if we all waited, it's 400 years later. So they'd still be waiting for Sophia to make her be the first person to make African-American to make that accent. So gosh, you know, there's so much more to talk about. We are going to run out of time so quickly. I did want to ask Sophia, if you could just tell us briefly about what a parks commissioner does, so that people know this opportunity to get involved in the way that you have. And then after you do that, everybody, would you just tell us what's next and how people can follow you and learn more about what you do? Sophia, what do you do as a park commissioner? And then what are you up to next?
Washington State Parks is actually a commission-run agency. And so it is run by a 7-member volunteer, pretty much. And there's, I won't even get into all that, but a volunteer commission. We are essentially setting the policy direction for Washington State Parks. We are making major decisions about park acquisition, about surplusing lands, about what types of concessionaires we might allow, depending on how big the decision is. You know, we're not sitting there sort of with every sort of kayak guide, but like, you know, if we're gonna, for example, St. Edward's State Park has essentially a hotel in it, that type of decision. We make those, we are the body that makes those decisions. It is appointed by the governor, and it is, you know, it's not just this commission. There are a lot of these opportunities. I think I'm also on boards, and they're out there and they're looking for folks. You do apply. And I do think that there is a little bit of an issue where it's very insider. And I have a special talent, apparently. I think it comes from being, you know, born in Japan and sort of kind of just having to mold and meld everywhere, right? Of becoming kind of, I'm very good at sort of becoming insiders at places, but it is something that I think a lot of people don't know about, not just this commission, but that there are sort of these opportunities out there in the state and in other places that again, you can apply for, you can ask folks about how they got involved. They can actually connect you, network, things like that. Currently, for example, you know, we do have a proviso, we call it, but essentially Washington State Parks has a project we're doing right now, specifically with Black folks in state parks, or actually it's outdoor recreation in Washington State. It is going to be a 12-member committee that's doing a very quick study. I think we're short 1 member at this point. I think we found 11, but we had to kind of go out there. We had to go out there and kind of like find people because I think that people don't tend to find us. And so, yeah, I would encourage people. It is buried. It is bureaucratic. I think we need to work on our side about, again, making these opportunities more obvious and more sort of public, but also I'm like, folks can look for me. It's actually the state parks. If you go to like the About Us part of the state parks, the same place where you make reservations and stuff, it's on there. There's information about us. And yeah, you can find me there if anyone has any. We actually just appointed a new commissioner out of Spokane. we do try to have geographic diversity. There is a possibility there'll be another opening in Western Washington sometime soon, within this year. And probably 2 more next year. So there's a lot of opportunity out there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And if there's some place where people can check you out, Sophia, where's that? And then we'll go to Lael and we'll go to James. Where can people hear more about what you're up to next?
I am bad at all the things, but at Sophia Climbs, my Instagram, I am trying to be better about it.
I don't even, oh man, I'm trying to Instagram. But anyways, that's a whole nother 2022 resolution. Okay, cool. At Sophia on Instagram. What does it say one more time?
It's at Sophia Climbs.
Climbs. Oh, Climbs. All right. And what about you, Lael? What about you?
So you can find me on Instagram. I'm trying to be a little bit better on Instagram as well. And that's it's at Fly Guide, and Fly Guide is FLYGYDE. Just following my adventures there will help you a lot to see what's going on. Seeing somebody catch a fish will make you want to go catch a fish. That's the objective of it. And I love social media. Social media is actually what got me here in the first place. That if I was not able to prove, and this is just being in the professional, right? You have to prove that you can do what you're doing. And it also helps me, let someone else know. I'm like, well, if I'm doing it, you can do it, right? And I want to, do my best to try to prepare somebody again. And Instagram is a very, very great tool. Facebook as well. You can find me on my website also at flyguide.com. And I'm very receptive to phone calls. So I like talking fish, and I want to prepare people. And I know there's many things that I found out in the outdoors. Like I snowboard like James does as well. I like helping people. You come here, I'm from Kansas. I didn't know anything. I would love to ask many good questions. And I did find a lot of people that helped me out. I did not get here by myself at all. But I just like talking to people. You can, give me a shout, and I'd love to, take a couple of minutes, answer some of your questions, just make it a little more comfortable for you to be out in Washington.
Well, that's wonderful. And I just want to make sure people get the right Fly Guide. Can you spell it for us, please?
It's F as in Frank, L as in Lima, Y as in year, G as in George, Y as in year, D as in dog, E as in Edward.com.
Right.
And the Instagram is spelled the same way, Fly Guide.
The guide, everyone, is the GYDE.
GYDE.
All right. Yeah. There might be another Fly Guide out there. I don't know what they're doing, but we want you. And good news, y'all. Woo, woo. We can just go a little bit longer. So, James, how can people, thank you. How can people reach out and find out more about what you're doing?
Yeah, you can always hit me up on Instagram as well at Seal of Approval. So SEAL _of _approval. And I definitely follow my social medias. I'm working on my consulting firm website and everything right now. And then I got a couple of projects just came from Burrow, Alaska. With a cultural exchange project. So shout out to Junior, Kim, and CJ, where we played out and enjoyed the tundra, fishing, hunting, plus more. And then I'm getting ready now for a project called Shark Therapy. It's the second year where we're taking young Black men and we're teaching them about urban ecology. And then we're going all the way down to Florida, where we'll be snorkeling with sharks. So wow. This is the second, year that we did this. And so those are like two of the major projects that I have going on right now. And then also just like while I'm in Seattle, just supporting friends and other projects that are going on to get engaged youth outdoors and figure out where's the money coming to, how we can do better in programming, how we can outreach more. I'm a part of a couple of nonprofits here, but that's pretty much what I have that's going thus far, man. And I just, like I said, it's just about having fun, engaging people, and then looking at, what are some of the policies that are hindering us to to get out or can help better support us on the state, local, and federal level. So yeah.
You know, that just a question with that then, James, because you were talking about at the beginning, you work with all age ranges, not that Sophia and Lael don't either, but I'm just wondering, since you're working so much with youth, you're planning this trip, what's the word on the street in the Black community about with the kids? How are they feeling about the, you know, like, just give us the doubt, like, are they excited? Are they telling their friends, or are they like, man, nobody's interested in this? Because I try to say, hey, let's go for camping bugs. You know, it goes into the space. And I'm just wondering what kids that you work with are saying. How excited are they about being the generation that's going to be taking over all these parks and the responsibilities? And are they interested?
You get it all. You get a different array. And so you get those who parents have taken them outside in some type of fashion form. You get those who've never been out, or you get those who probably dibbed and dabbed here and there. But once again, it's about you know, making sure they feel welcome and secure in those spaces, and those parents know what's going on. I mean, we talk about the outdoors as African Americans. We talk about the outdoors sometimes in a negative sense because we have some traumas that happen in outdoors, but yet and still we have some positive things that happen in outdoors as well. So when I talk about it, I show them about those historical figures, individuals who, you know, been in the outdoors. When we talk about Buffalo Soldiers, let's talk about how they mountain biked. And they was like considered one of the first mountain bikers, you know, to go across the United States and everything else. Like, let's start talking about individuals in the outdoors that are Black and doing great things, and showing those images. So when we show them those images, they're gonna take that step, and they're gonna also, they need to learn that they can take the step that they want. And you know, so it's like, hey, let's start small. Let's start car camping, and then let's do something big. And they gotta feel comfortable with their guides too. So you know who they're around. And so I don't, you know, normally 2 or 3 months out, you know, I'm introducing myself to their families and everything else, and we're talking about the trip, and I'm showing them videos and everything else. So it's really about feeling comfortable, and then when they get out there, like, how they can be themselves and enjoy space. So you know, I love making sure that they can enjoy space, and they can grow, and they can challenge themselves in the outdoors. So you know, that positive challenge that, you know, they have to face, so they can know that when they come back into the city or they come back home, that they can challenge other things in a positive way to help grow them. So I think the outdoors give them that growth at times. Yeah. Nature gives them growth. So yeah, definitely. There's a connection between the outdoors and who you walk as a human being. You know, it lives in you, and you follow through with that wherever you go. If you're comfortable outside, comfortable inside, you're set, right? And you know, I'm going to ask this final question, and it's something we always ask at Sundays Outside. So if you can think about it in one sentence, what does the outdoors mean to you? A lot of, you know, everyone's kind of said all these things. It's hard to put it in maybe a sentence or two, but what does the outdoors mean to you? And Lael, I'll start with you.
The outdoors for me is just unlimited discovery. I can't run out of it. I've been many places, and there's many places that I haven't been. And I'm just gonna chase it to my last breath. It's never gonna end. The journey always continues.
I love it. Okay, everybody, we're getting some new books. That's your book title, by the way. Just want you to know. Okay. James, what about you? What's happening to you?
For me, the outdoors is liberation.
Liberation. Woo! All right then. And I'm sorry, I was thinking, we actually, I just got back from Yellowstone, Grand Tetons, and Glacier. And we everything you're saying, endless liberation, and being like, we would count. I went with a couple, my husband and I and another couple, we were counting the number of Black people that we saw at all three of these parks. Very few had to own my space. Like you said, I deserve to be there. But it was so liberating. And I just want to let everyone, the most Black people I saw was at Yellowstone. So we were trying to figure out, is that because it's the biggest one and it's da-da-da-da-da-da, but everywhere else, not so much. Sophia, what is the outdoors mean to you?
Gosh, it's so much, right? It's changed my life, like my entire life, right? Because of the outdoors. But I think for me, it's the exploration, the peace. I talk a lot about sort of in other places about the isolation, that I have a lot of social anxiety. And so for me, there's sort of a peace. There's these sort of amazing, just the wonder, sort of small little things. This constant discovery is just, it's so much. I'm not sure if I could put it into one sentence.
No, that's beautiful. I'm hearing peace, liberation, and endless opportunities and possibilities, y'all. Woo! I think that is good. I love it. I love it. I am so honored and excited to have met all of you. I'm sure everyone watching is also. Please check out Sophia Danenberg, James King Jr., and Lael P. Johnson at all of the different ways you can, either on the commission sites or the community organization or their companies or whatever they're doing. I think someone's putting it in a chat somewhere. And I really want to thank you three for sharing your experiences with us. And I know we just touched, as they say, the tip of the iceberg. And I look forward to, I will not at this point in my life with the gray be snowboarding, but I will be skiing with y'all when you do that. I'll be wading in the water as you're fishing, because I'll probably have to release. And I will do a hike with you, Sophia. I did Half Dome, but I am not going to go any further than that. No ice hiking for me. But y'all are beautiful. So let's, you're all doing things, activism, just by being yourselves and being in those spaces and working with people and showing them what they can do. And I really appreciate you activating yourselves and sharing your voices to impact what others are doing in the outdoors. And everyone who's watching, we ask you to do the same, right? And speaking of making more public spaces available, the way that you all are doing that, trying to get people out into the outdoors, but also speaking of that, making more public spaces available, now's everyone who's watching, now's your chance. Using our voices and sharing our thoughts, we are asking you to do this. We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. So using our voices, sharing our thoughts and opinions and what we need and what we want in these public spaces in form of activism. We're putting in the link in the chat for you, yes, you, to get involved in Miller State Peninsula Park, okay? So yes, everyone out there, you can get involved in Miller State Peninsula Park. Let them know what you would like to see in the park, what experiences you would like to have there. And also, we know that in Washington State, they have a number of free park days in which you don't need a Discover Pass, right? That's very exciting. And one of those free park days, and I'm sorry if I'm talking really fast for the interpreter, so I will slow down. I'm just like, oh my gosh, we went a little over time. So thank you for watching with us. If you're still with us, we hope so. So the next free park day is August 25th. With the Washington State Parks. So visit a park August 25th. You don't need your Discover Pass. And this is to celebrate National Park Service's birthday, the birthday for the National Park Service, August 25th. Now, if you miss August 25th and you still want to go to one of the many beautiful state parks we have in Washington, then we know, like we talked about cost being prohibitive. Well, what we're doing at Sundays Outside is we are giving away one Discover Pass. So all you have to do is visit our site, It'll be in the chat there. Go to Sundays Outside and tell us what you think of this event. And you can be entered for a chance to win a free Discover Pass. Woo, woo! And there'll be a survey that will that will be part of this so that we can get some feedback. And speaking of getting to the parks, check out the upcoming performances that the Washington State Parks Folk and Traditional Arts Program are putting on later this month on August 28th at Waikiki Beach at Cape Disappointment. The singer-songwriter Briar will be performing a mix of vintage jazz, blues, and original music. So that's August 28th at Cape Disappointment. Look for Briar and their music. And, you know, here we are. We're at the end of our program. I've just had a great time. It went by too quickly. I would have loved to have more conversation with our guests, but it's that time. So we want to say thank you to our sponsors, the Washington State Parks Foundation, the Wilderness Society, Washington Trails Association, the National Endowment for the Arts, Conservation Northwest, the National Parks Conservation Association, REI, the Trust for Public Lands, Washington State Parks Folk and Traditional Arts Program. Today was fun. I want to also thank the Wilburns. Thank you so much for your beauty and your music and your commitment to the community and the drumming. I want to thank Sophia and Lael and James for sharing their knowledge. I want to also thank Monica, Kiwi, Brandy, Siobhan, Michaela, and also our interpreters, Aaron and Avery. Thank you so much. And so make sure to follow on social media at Golden Bricks. Woo, we won, can't get that wrong. Follow us on social media at Golden Bricks Events or on our website, goldenbricksevents.com. Now, next month for Sundays Outside, we'll be talking about women. So don't miss it. RSVP today. And don't forget to fill out the survey, be entered to win a chance for a Discover Pass. And that's really about it. So to close out, we're going to head back to Riverside Park, okay, which is in Spokane, which is where the Wilburns had their interview. We're going to head back to Riverside Park in Spokane, and we're going to listen to some music by DJ Rose Throw. Thank you again for joining us for Sundays Outside, where we celebrated Black activism and all the beautiful people here. And hopefully you had some ice cream. Mine is all gone. It's actually melted, so I'll be drinking my ice cream in a minute. So thank you, Sophia, James, Lael, and we will talk with you later. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you. Goodbye.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
I'ma be outside.